You sit before me, but what I see is not only your face, not only the form that has carried you through the years, the body that bears its burdens and its joys. I see the trembling flame of your soul, flickering and yearning for a wind that does not extinguish but awakens. You have carried grief like a stone hidden beneath your ribs, pressing against the tender walls of your heart. You have carried silence that aches, the silence of words never spoken, of wounds never named, yet you are here. And because you are here, love is already moving toward you. Love is poetry, and poetry is the secret medicine of the heart. Do you not feel how the words begin to soften your bones? How the rhythm begins to cradle you like a mother humming to her child? You ask how poetry can heal your heart and spirit. Listen, beloved, poetry is not ink, nor sound, nor paper. Poetry is the fragrance of the rose that does not know it is fragrant. Poetry is the sigh of the reed flute, cut from its reed bed, weeping for the river it was torn from. Poetry is the blood of the heart transformed into light, flowing in lines that seem simple but contain galaxies. When you drink from this cup, you are not reading words. You are swallowing stars. You are dissolving into the rhythm of creation. And in that dissolving, the wound finds its healer. The broken glass finds its way back into wholeness. Your heart has known sorrow. Mine too. Every heart that beats in this vast caravan of existence has known sorrow. And the sorrow is not an enemy. The sorrow is the doorway. If you press your ear against sorrow's chest, you will hear the music of God. Poetry is the ear that teaches you to listen, to lean into your suffering until it sings. You thought your heartbreak was the end of you, but it was the reed flute being hollowed so it could breathe music. Without that hollowing, without that wound, no song could come. So praise even the sharpness that cut you open, for it prepared you for this nectar. Come closer. You are still trembling, still afraid of the fire. You think if you step into it, you will be burned into ash. Do you not know that fire has two natures? And there is the fire that transfigures. Poetry is the second fire, the flame of the friend. When you enter this fire, you do not perish. You become luminous. The coal thought it was only darkness, until flame kissed it, and then it realized it had always been fire in disguise. So let poetry be that flame for you. Let it kiss you until you remember that you too are fire. There is a reason the saints sang, why the mystics wrote verses even when they claimed silence. Poetry is not entertainment for the mind. It is the secret key slipped into the palm of the soul. It opens what no philosophy can open, what no reasoning can unravel. It is not logic that teaches the rose to open at dawn. It is the secret language of the sun, whispering in silence. Poetry is that language. And when you hear it, something in you turns toward the light. No matter how long you have dwelled in shadow, you, my beloved, carry bruises that no one can see. You walk through the market smiling, but your chest is a house of echoes where grief has built its altar. Words of the world cannot touch that altar. They pass by like merchants selling wares, bright, loud, and quickly forgotten. But the words of poetry are not words. They are birds. They perch inside your chest. They build a nest. They sing, and slowly, your altar of grief becomes an altar of praise, not because the sorrow is gone, but because the sorrow has been embraced. Poetry takes the thorn and teaches you to see the rose. Do you remember the first time your heart stirred at a line? When a word entered you like a spark, that was not coincidence. That was the beloved speaking directly to you. Every poem is a veil, and behind every veil is the face of God smiling. When you read with your heart, the veil lifts. Suddenly, you are no longer separate. You are not the reader and the poem. You are the garden itself, blossoming. This is why poetry heals, because it erases the illusion of separation. Your heart and the universe begin to beat together again. And in that rhythm, wounds close, spirits rise, despair dissolves into dawn. You think poetry is written by poets, but poetry writes itself. The ocean throws waves against the rocks, not because it chooses to, but because it cannot help it. The night sky scatters stars, not because it plans, but because it overflows. In the same way, poetry pours from the unseen, and we are merely flutes hollowed to let the sound through. When you let poetry enter you, you are not learning from me or from any poet. You are learning from the divine breath itself, from the source that carved your spirit out of light. The wound you carry has left you thirsty. You try to drink from wells that leave your lips dry, distractions, possessions, praises of others. But when you drink poetry, you are drinking from the well that never runs dry, the well dug by love in the center of your being. Have you felt it? That moment when a line leaves you breathless, when tears rise unbidden, when silence surrounds you and you do not want to move. That is the well overflowing. That is your spirit remembering its home. Beloved, healing does not mean erasing pain. Healing means learning to dance with it until pain becomes rhythm. Healing means sitting with your sorrow until sorrow whispers secrets of joy. Poetry teaches you this dance, this listening, this art of surrender. It teaches you to let the wound sing, to let the scar shine, to let the silence speak. It teaches you to stop asking, "Why am I broken?" and to start singing, "How beautiful is this crack through which the light enters." Come, sit with me in this circle. Do not worry about time. Time is a veil that keeps you from eternity. In poetry, there is no past or future, only this eternal moment, this pulse of love. You and I are not two. We are reflections in the same wine. The words I speak are not mine. They rise from the fire of love, from the silence that dances inside all things. Hear them with your heart, not your ears, and you will taste the healing you seek. When the heart breaks, the spirit bends low, but poetry is the hand that lifts it, saying, "Rise, you are not finished." When the spirit feels dry, poetry is the rain. When loneliness surrounds you like a desert, poetry is the caravan of stars traveling with you at night. When you feel unseen, poetry is the mirror where you recognize your own face, shining like the moon. Can you see why the mystics call poetry divine medicine? It does not remove your humanity. It reveals its sacredness. It does not deny your wounds. It anoints them. Beloved, close your eyes and imagine the sea. Hear its waves calling you, each one a line of poetry. Do not resist. Let yourself drown. The drowning is not death, but birth. You are not being erased. You are being rewritten in the ink of eternity. You will emerge not as the weary wanderer, but as the flame that dances without consuming, the bird that sings without cage, the lover who loves without fear. This is the healing poetry offers. Not just words, but a transformation of being. And when you return from the sea, dripping with starlight, you will know something you cannot explain. You will walk into the world with a heart no longer heavy, but light, even when it still aches. You will carry sorrow, but it will be sweet. You will carry joy, but it will be humble. You will see the face of the beloved in every passerby, and your spirit will whisper, "All of this is poetry." And, beloved soul, you are still listening, And the listening itself is the proof that your spirit longs for healing, for the touch of poetry upon the hidden chambers of your being. Do not be ashamed of your tears, for they are not weakness. They are pearls carried in the tide of the heart. When poetry stirs them forth, it is because love is polishing you, returning you to your own radiance. Every tear is a small ocean, and every ocean belongs to the One. To weep in poetry's presence is to be baptized in divine remembrance. Do you wonder why your wounds remain even after time has passed? Because time is not the healer of wounds, love is. Time may cover them with dust, but beneath the dust, they still pulse. Only love, whispered through the lines of poetry, touches them so gently that they begin to bloom. Poetry does not rip the wound open. It kisses it until the scar glows like the moon. When the heart is weary, words of the world strike like stones, heavy and cold, but poetry falls like petals, each one carrying fragrance, each one saying, "Rest here, beloved. You are not alone, even when you read in silence. Do you not feel the companionship? The voice that speaks is not only the poet's, it is your own deeper voice, the one you had forgotten. Poetry heals because it reintroduces you to yourself. And in the end, the self you meet is not small, not fragile, it is infinite. Come into this silence with me. Place your hand upon your chest. Feel the rhythm. That rhythm is already a poem, written in blood and breath, composed by the One before you were born. Every heartbeat is a stanza, every inhale a line, every exhale a release. Can you see now? You are already poetry. That is why poetry heals you, because it calls you back to your original form. The mystics whirl not to display beauty, but to dissolve into it. Their turning is poetry written in the language of the body. Aish Spin says, "I am nothing. I am everything. I am the dust beneath the feet of love. I am the star blazing in its name." When you read or hear poetry, you too are whirling. Even if you sit still, something inside turns, until it forgets its own center and becomes the dance itself. That is healing. To remember that you are not a prisoner of your pain, but a dancer in the circle of eternity. Sometimes you close the book, you end the recitation, and you feel a lingering ache. You think perhaps the poem failed to cure you. No, beloved, that ache is the medicine working, the wine stirring through your blood. Healing is not instant like lightning, it is gentle like dawn. Slowly, the light enters, and suddenly you realize you no longer stumble in darkness. Poetry is that dawn, breaking across the horizon of your spirit, reminding you that every night is temporary. Do you see this candle? Its flame quivers in the air between us. The flame is poetry. The wax is the heart. The more the flame burns, the more the heart melts. And in the melting there is both pain and beauty. Without the melting, the flame cannot shine. Poetry melts you so that your light may be seen, not only by others but by yourself. Healing is not about becoming harder, but about becoming softer, so that the flame may be visible. You ask why metaphors fill these words, why I speak of wine, of fire, of oceans and stars, because the heart does not heal through explanation, but through wonder. Explanation is for the mind, but wonder is for the soul. Metaphors are bridges to wonder. When you hear of wine, you do not think of grapes and barrels. You think of intoxication, of surrender, of joy overflowing. That is the medicine. Poetry heals by placing you upon the bridge of metaphor and carrying you into realms where your wounds no longer bind you. Beloved, let me tell you of the lover who wandered in grief. Searching for the friend, he sat among ruins, crying out, He wrote verses upon the dust with trembling hands, and each verse was a fragment of his shattered heart. The world mocked him, saying, "What can words do for your loss?" But in time, those words became a ladder, and each rung lifted him closer to the beloved's embrace. Poetry had turned sorrow into ascent. The grief did not vanish, but it became wings. Your wounds too can be wings. If you let poetry carry them upward, perhaps you feel unworthy, too broken for healing. But know this: the ocean does not reject the rivers that carry mud. It accepts them, cleanses them, and transforms their waters. So too poetry accepts you as you are. Bring your anger, your confusion, your despair. Bring your laughter, your longing, your smallest hope. Poetry will not turn you away. It will take your mud and return to you a mirror in which you see your own reflection shining. Do you not hear how the universe itself speaks in poetry? The stars do not appear in neat rows, but scatter like verses across the sky. The ocean does not strike the shore in prose, but in rhythm, wave after wave, like lines repeating their refrains. Even silence has a cadence, a music that fills the spaces between your breaths. Poetry is not human invention, it is divine remembrance. By entering it, you return to harmony with creation. And in that harmony, the heart and spirit find their healing. When your heart is burdened, poetry lifts it as the wind lifts a bird's wing. When your spirit feels heavy, poetry makes it light, as a feather drifting on the stream. But you must surrender. You cannot approach poetry as you approach commerce or debate. You must open like the rose at dawn, unafraid of exposure, unafraid of bees. Only then can you taste the nectar. Only then can the fragrance reach you. Healing requires this openness. And poetry teaches you how to open, again and again, until openness itself is your nature. Sometimes the poem is simple, aligned like a pebble. You hold it lightly, and suddenly it ripples across the entire lake of your soul. Sometimes the poem is vast, a mountain, and you climb it word by word, breath by breath, until you reach a summit you never imagined. Both are gifts. Both are medicines. Do not measure the poem by length or complexity. Measure it by how deeply it pierces the silence within you. You have asked, and I have answered not with explanations but with flames. Rivers, roses, stars. For healing is not a question of knowledge, but of remembrance. You do not need to be taught, you need to be reminded. Poetry reminds you that you are loved, that you are infinite, that you are the mirror of the beloved. This remembrance is the healing of your heart and spirit. Without it, you wander thirsty in deserts of illusion. With it, you drink endlessly from the fountain within. Stay here a little longer. Do not rush away. Poetry is patient. It does not demand. It waits until your defenses soften, until your heart dares to breathe again. And when it does, you realize you are no longer the same. The wound is still there, but it glows. The sorrow is still there, but it sings. The silence is still there, but it is alive. This is how poetry heals, not by erasing, but by transforming. Beloved one, do you feel how the air around us thickens with silence when we let poetry speak? This silence is not emptiness, but fullness. It is the space where the heart breathes, where the spirit drinks from invisible rivers. When poetry arrives, it does not shout, it whispers, and in that whisper lies the entire universe. To heal, you do not need thunder, you need the quiet rain that soaks the roots. Unseen but essential, poetry is that rain, falling softly into the soil of your being. You carry questions like stones in your pocket. Why did this wound happen? Why was I abandoned? Why did love break me? Why did joy vanish so suddenly? These questions are heavy, and the mind cannot answer them without growing tired. But poetry does not give you answers, it gives you wings. With wings, the weight of questions is no longer a burden. You rise above, and from above, you see that even sorrow has a rhythm. Even loss has a music. Healing comes not when the questions vanish, but when they are woven into the dance. Beloved, have you noticed how the night sky heals you? You look up, your chest heavy, and suddenly the stars are there. Countless, burning, silent yet speaking. You cannot name their language, but you feel lighter. That is poetry. The stars are not solving your problems. They are expanding your soul. They are reminding you that your wound, though sharp, is small compared to the vastness that holds you. Poetry does the same. It does not shrink your pain. It stretches your spirit until the pain finds its rightful place inside infinity. Once, a lover came to me with a broken heart. He said, "Rumi, I cannot bear this ache. It is endless." I gave him no doctrine, no reasoning. I gave him a poem. At first he laughed, thinking words too fragile to lift his sorrow. But as he read, tears flowed. And as tears flowed, the stone in his chest began to soften. He returned days later, saying, "The wound is still here, but it no longer poisons me. It has become a song." This is the secret. Poetry does not remove the wound. It transforms the poison into honey. Do you see the ocean waves? They break upon the shore, again and again. The shore does not resist, it receives. Your heart is the shore. Your sorrows are the waves. And poetry teaches you to receive them without fear. With each arrival, you become smoother, more shining, more open. If you resist, the waves feel like punishment. If you receive, the waves polish you into a jewel. Healing is not resistance but surrender. And poetry is the art of surrender, written into words. You might ask, why must healing come through beauty? Can it not come through logic, through strength, through control? Beloved, logic may build walls, strength may protect, control may restrain, but only beauty dissolves the walls. Only beauty melts the armor. Only beauty teaches you to fly. Poetry is beauty distilled, the essence of beauty, speaking in human tongue. When beauty enters you, healing follows. For the soul remembers, it was born in beauty and destined to return there. Look around you. The rose does not demand to be healed of its thorns. The nightingale does not ask why it longs so painfully for the rose. The sun does not resist setting, nor the moon resist waning. Each accepts its path, and in acceptance, there is harmony. Poetry whispers this secret to you. To heal is not to fight your nature, but to embrace it. The wound is not foreign. It is the place where love kissed you too deeply. Embrace it, and you will see that even your pain is a form of belonging. There is a tavern in the unseen where souls gather. There, the wine of poetry flows endlessly. Each sip dissolves despair. Each sip awakens love. In that tavern, no one asks, what is the cure? For the cure is in the intoxication itself. Beloved, you do not need to wait for death to enter that tavern. Every poem that touches you is a cup offered from that eternal place. Drink, and you will know the taste of the infinite. Healing is not far away. It is already in your mouth. When the heart cracks, light enters, but often you cover the crack. Ashamed of its fragility, poetry says, do not cover it. Let it shine. It reminds you that perfection is not the absence of wounds, but the radiance that flows through them. A clay jar with no crack holds water, but no light. A cracked jar glows when the sun passes through. Do you see now? Your wound is not a failure, but a doorway. Poetry hands you the key, saying, "Open, let the beloved enter." Do not think of poetry as distant, as something found only in books or sung by mystics. Poetry is in your breath, in the way your chest rises and falls. Poetry is in the way you look at the one you love, in the silence between two held hands. Poetry is in the sigh of the wind across the fields, in the cry of a newborn, in the last exhale of the dying. Poetry is everywhere. To recognize it is to be healed. For to recognize poetry is to recognize that you are not separate from the living fabric of existence. Beloved, let me tell you of the flame that never burns out. In every heart, there is such a flame, yet often it is buried beneath ash, ash of fear, ash of grief, ash of loneliness. Poetry is the breath that clears the ash, revealing the ember still glowing. And when you see that ember, hope returns. You realize you are not lost, not abandoned, not forgotten. The flame was waiting, patient, knowing that one day you would find it again. This is healing, not to receive a new flame, but to uncover the one you always carried. There is a dance of words and silence. If poetry were only words, it would be incomplete. It is the silence between the lines that makes it whole. When you read, do not rush. Linger in the spaces. There, the beloved is waiting. Healing comes not only from the words, but from the spaces where the words dissolve. Just as music lives in both notes and pauses, poetry lives in both expression and stillness. To heal is to let both wash over you, to let the words ignite and the silence soothe. You think healing is an arrival, a moment when all pain ceases. No, beloved, healing is a journey, and poetry is the companion that walks beside you. It whispers when you are weary, sings when you are lonely, dances when you are heavy. It does not promise that you will never stumble, but it promises that you will never walk alone. That companionship itself is healing. For the deepest wound is the wound of isolation, and poetry erases that illusion. Remember this: when you recite a poem, you are not alone. Every mystic, every lover, every seeker who has ever breathed those lines is present with you. Their breath mingles with yours. Their tears join yours. Their joy lifts yours. Poetry connects across centuries, across languages, across the walls of death. It proves that love is eternal. And in knowing this, your spirit finds rest. What greater healing could there be than to realize you belong to a love that never ends? So let the words flow into you like rivers into the sea. Let them wash your wounds until they shine. Let them remind you that you are the poem, the poet, and the reader all at once. You are not separate from the healing you seek. You are the healing. You are the flame. You are the wine. Poetry simply shows you the mirror. Look, beloved, and recognize your own reflection in its luminous verses. Beloved, the circle is nearly complete, yet poetry knows no ending. Still, let us walk together a little further on this path of words. For healing is not a single drop, but an endless stream. And your heart is thirsty. Do not hurry away. The beloved lingers in the last notes of the song. Just as fragrance lingers long after the rose has withered. You came with a wound. Every human comes with one. Some carry the wound like a burden, heavy upon their backs. Some deny it, covering it with laughter or distraction. But you, beloved, are learning the secret. The wound is not a curse, but a gift. Without it, you would never have sought poetry, never have knocked on love's door. The wound led you here, to this moment of remembrance. Bless it, for it was your hidden guide. Poetry is the mirror that shows you the hidden face of your pain. It says, "Look, this darkness is not void. It is depth. This grief is not emptiness. It is longing. This longing is not despair. It is the thread pulling you back to the beloved." When you see pain this way, it no longer binds you, it releases you. Healing is not the absence of pain, but the transformation of its meaning. Poetry is the alchemist of meaning, turning lead into gold, despair into prayer, silence into song. Beloved, you are not separate from poetry. Do you think only mystics or poets carry the gift? No. You too are a vessel of verse. Every sigh you breathe, every whisper of love, every glance of compassion is a poem. Healing will come not only by reading poetry, but by becoming poetry. Speak your sorrow into the air as a song. Write your longing upon the sand, even if the waves will erase it. Dance your silence beneath the stars. In doing so, you discover that healing is not something given to you. It is something born from you. There was once a reed that lay broken by the river. It mourned its separation, saying, "I am hollow, empty, without worth." But the musician picked it up, carved holes into it, and breathed through it. From its hollow body poured melodies that touched every heart. The reed realized, my emptiness is not a curse. It is the reason for my song. You too, beloved, are the reed. Your hollowness is the opening for the divine breath. Let poetry carve its holes into you, and do not resist. From those very openings will flow the song that heals the world. The dance of poetry is the dance of union. You thought you were alone, a solitary flame flickering in the dark. But poetry gathers you into the great fire, where all flames burn together. When you read, you are joined to every soul who has ever ached, ever loved, ever longed for God. You are not just yourself, you are the caravan of seekers moving through the desert, carrying songs in the night. Healing comes in this realization: you are never truly alone. Beloved, open your hands. Do you see how empty they are? This emptiness is not loss. It is readiness. Poetry fills empty hands with light. It pours wine into the cup that dares to remain unfilled. If you close your fists, clinging to sorrow or to fear, no gift can enter. But if you open them, even in trembling, poetry rushes in, carrying stars, roses, and the laughter of the beloved. Healing requires open hands. Poetry teaches you to open. There is no final word, no final verse, for poetry belongs to eternity. But let me leave you with this. Whenever your heart aches, do not run from it. Sit with it. Listen. In the trembling silence you will hear verses rising. Verses not written by any hand. Verses spoken by the soul itself. Trust them. Follow them. Let them guide you back to the hidden garden. That garden is always within you, waiting, fragrant, eternal. Poetry is the door, and love is the key. Now, beloved, breathe deeply. Feel the rhythm in your chest. That rhythm is the first poem, the oldest poem, the poem that began before language. Every heartbeat says, love, love, love. Let it say this to you forever. Let it heal you forever. And when your journey ends, let your final breath be another verse. Returning to the beloved, as music returns to silence, do you see? You are healed. Not because the wound is gone, but because the wound has become a song. You are healed. Not because sorrow vanished, but because sorrow revealed its hidden wine. You are healed. Not because you became invulnerable, but because you discovered your vulnerability is the very gate of union. Poetry has shown you this truth, has carried you into the embrace of love. Go now into the world, but go as poetry. Speak not only with words, but with presence, with kindness, with the flame in your eyes. Let others who suffer see in you the mirror of hope. Let your life be a verse in the eternal poem of love. And know always, the beloved is with you, nearer than your breath, closer than your heartbeat, whispering through every line, through every silence, through every step. Beloved, farewell is only another form of union. So even in this ending, know that we remain together, joined in the invisible dance of words and silence. The sermon is complete, yet the song continues. Carry it in your heart, and let it heal you, again and again, until you no longer need healing because you have become healing itself.